Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to be invited to the Asian Energy Business Forum 2020. I would like to take this chance to share with you about Vietnam Electricity (EVN), Vietnam Power System and EVN experience in realizing long-term targets of the government's emission reduction plan. EVN is a state-owned corporation responsible for ensuring power supply in Vietnam. EVN is the main player in the power sector with wholly owned subsidiaries, including 3 power generation corporations, which occupies about 50% of the system's installed capacity. The National Power Transmission Corporation, responsible for power transmission, and 5 power corporations in charge of power distribution. EVN owns the National Load Dispatch Center, which serves as a system and market operator. EVN is also the owner of multi-purpose hydropower plants. In realization of the power sector reform set by the government, as well as to facilitate the participation of other investors in the power generation subsector, EVN will accelerate the equitization process of the 3 gencos to an extent that EVN will be no longer the majority shareholder in the earliest manner. It is expected that installed capacity owned by EVN in Vietnam power system share decrease from 50% at present to 13% by 2030. In 2020, the total installed capacity of Vietnam power system is 59 gigawatt, which is constituted by hydropower 29%, gas turbines 12%, coal-fired 35%, solar 10%. The other are small hydropower, wind, and biomass. To satisfy the very high economic growth, the average annual power consumption growth rate over the period 2010 to 2019 was 9.7%. For the year 2020, due to COVID-19 pandemic's impacts, the estimated power consumption is 2018 billion kilowatt-hour, an increase of 3% against the last year. The power demand in 2021 to 2030 is expected about 8% per year. EVN had made considerable achievement in improving the access to electricity, with the percentage of households being electrified by 2020 is 99.5%, twice as much as 25 years ago. Let's move to how Vietnam power sector going towards the government's emission reduction target. 1. We have made remarkable progress in making EVN's coal-fired power plants comply with the 2014 Environment Law. Currently, 28 coal-fired power plants are operating commercially in Vietnam. Their gas emission, solid industrial waste, and environmental issues have been closely monitored in accordance with Vietnamese standards issued by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. Advanced technologies have been applied to mitigate negative impacts of existing coal-fired power plants on the environment. We plan to operate the denox and desox facilities of the old coal-fired power plants in order to comply with the new environmental standards. At a new project development, environmental assessment reports are strictly examined and have to be approved by MONRE, taken into account using cleaner technology, public consultation with local authorities and communities. 2. The development of renewable energy have recently made a breakthrough in Vietnam. The government issued the Renewable Energy Development Strategy in 2015, called as Decision 2068, in which the targets for renewable energy capacity share, excluding hydropower, is 3% by 2020 and 20% by 2030. After 5 years of implementation, thanks to incentive mechanisms, now we have 3,984 MW of small hydropower plants, 411 MW of biomass and solid waste energy in operation, 8,400 MW of solar power have been constructed, of which 5,900 MW has been operating, and nearly 2,000 MW of rooftop PV systems is in operation. This is really a breakthrough in power generation development in Vietnam. In addition, 5,300 MW of solar power have been approved by the Prime Minister to be added to the master plan and will be constructed in the coming time. Up to now, 2,700 MW of wind power is in construction phase, of which 490 MW has been commercially operated. Furthermore, 11,300 MW of wind power have been approved by the Prime Minister to be added to the master plan and will be constructed in the coming time. In short, compared to the target set in Decision 2068, some types of renewable energy grow very fast. Some are less attractive to investors, thus growing slowly and not meeting targets. Nevertheless, they all have made a significant contribution to Vietnam power system. However, the power system of Vietnam has been facing some difficulties. Mainly, the system almost does not have reserves, i.e., the available capacity is just adequate to cover the big load. In some critical circumstances, load shedding is required in some areas. The integration of large amounts of renewable energy has imposed a lot of challenges on the stable and reliable system operation. Due to the intermittent nature of wind and solar energy resources, with large dependence on weather conditions, it is necessary to develop more conventional power plants as backup resources to ensure a timely balance in the power system. Wind and solar power resources are in general highly densely located in some areas, which might lead to local transmission congestions. Sometimes, when on renewable energy stations are simultaneously dispatched. Due to the intermittency of renewable energy resources, to ensure the power supply security, additional investment in auxiliary services to the system are required. Now, we would like to present the way towards the proposed Power Development Plan 8 in order to develop a clean and sustainable power sector. Vietnam is in the development phase. The growth rate is expected to remain high despite some slowdown caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. It is expected that by 2030, the total installed capacity will be 138 gigawatts, and power consumption will be 490 billion kilowatt-hours. So, the demand for investment in power generation will be huge in the future, and we have to spend more on imported primary fuels because domestic primary energy resources, namely hydro energy, natural gas, and coal, are gradually exhausted. The room for further developing renewable energy in Vietnam is still large. In addition, renewable energy technologies for onshore and offshore wind and solar power have been well developed and are in the periods of cost declining, which are really a favorable opportunity for Vietnam's renewable energy development. However, the renewable energy development should be a step-by-step plan to ensure national energy security and economic efficiencies. Currently, PDP8 is under preparation, but some feasible solutions to meet the national power demand have been clearly recognized as follows. 1. Diversifying power resources toward sustainability, environment friendliness, and economic efficiency, including coal-fired power plants, gas turbines using natural gas, LNG, hydropower, importing electricity from neighboring countries, and renewable energy with a reasonable penetration proportion each year. 2. Continuously developing an appropriate share of coal-fired power with a low-emission USC technology, which is expected to decrease from 34% in 2020 to 27% in 2030. 3. Developing gas turbine using imported LNG with latest technology, and the total capacity of domestic natural gas and imported LNG power plants would keep a share of 15% throughout 2021 to 2025, increasing to 19% in 2030, of which imported LNG will be dominating. 4. Developing renewable energy in a steady, step-by-step manner at a reasonable rate. For wind power, the share of installed capacity in power system would increase to 9% in 2025 and 14% in 2030. For solar power, the installed capacity proportion would rise to 13% in 2025 to 14% in 2030. Up to now, Vietnam has performed quite successfully the FIT mechanism to promote renewable energy, and the government has intended to launch the auction mechanism to attract new investment in renewable energy in right location with competitive prices. 5. Expanding the national transmission system, including considering the feasibility of investment in HVDC transmission network to reinforce the north-south backbone grid, overcome the transmission congestion between region to region, and make the grid available to absorb more renewable energy. 6. Building interconnection transmission lines to enhance bilateral power trading between EVN and other investors in neighboring countries. This would bring the security, the resilience, the economical operation of the power system of the interconnected countries. 7. Promoting the retail market in combination with developing a CO2 market in the future, so that all types of power sources can be developed according to market forces. The retail electricity market is scheduled to be in place after 2024. By that time, EVN will own and operate power transmission, distribution subsectors, and a number of multi-purpose hydropower plants. As for power generation and retail business subsectors, they will be open to other economic sectors' participation. Finally, renewable energy and clean technology are still new concepts in Vietnam. EVN is eager to learn from your experience in this topic. Thank you for your attention.